What's up, guys? Welcome to the line change. And yeah, I look different. I drank from the fountain of youth. I shed about 10 years. So yeah, I just wanted to make a point of that. And in this video, in particular, we're going to be talking about 8 centers that the Canucks could potentially pluck through waivers that happen to have some upside. We're going to discuss that. We're going to talk about it. We're going to go over an article that talks about it as well. But before I dive into that video and do my shout out my sponsor, I wanted to just take a quick second and say me wearing this shirt is not a coincidence. I just happened to put on this shirt today, and there's 3 reasons why I'm wearing this shirt. 1, I'm a big wrestling fan. 2, I'm a big LA Knight fan. Yeah. And 3, the yellow and red, as everyone well knows by now, I'm recording this Thursday night. And earlier today, obviously, we heard the news of Hulk Hogan passing away at 71 years old due to cardiac arrest. And me being a wrestling fan, I like to separate the person from the wrestler, at least when it comes to, mourning somebody. And, obviously, everyone knows in his later years, Hulk Hogan became a controversial figure with some things that he says, some things that I do not agree with whatsoever. So I just wanted to clarify that. But I'm looking at this based on Hulk Hogan, the wrestler, because if it wasn't for Hulk Hogan, wrestling would not be what it is today. And you can't find a single person who can argue against that. I wasn't the biggest Hulk Hogan fan, growing up. Sure, I liked him during the NWO era and that whole thing with WCW. I liked him, but I didn't love him. He wasn't someone from my childhood because I wasn't really into wrestling when he was, at his peak. Obviously, I was not born in the 80s, so I did not see him in the yellow and red trunks, body slamming Andre the Giant. I didn't see that. I wasn't born yet. But he was a polarizing figure. He is on the Mount Rushmore for wrestling. And again, not a lot of people can argue against that. But it's still sad to hear Hulk Hogan has passed away. That is a huge loss for wrestling. And it just absolutely sucks. My heart goes out to his family, his friends, and fans who loved Hulk Hogan. I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. And I guess, he really wasn't immortal, despite that being one of his many nicknames. But I do feel as though Hulkamania will live forever and his legacy will live forever. So I just wanted to touch on that. But let's get into the video. But before I do that, as I always do, give a big shout out to my sponsor, Gassy Jack Art, maker of that incredible artwork you see there behind me. And you guys can check them out at gassjackart.com. You can also find them on Instagram at gassjackart. So go ahead, check them out. Once again, that is gassjackart.com. So let's dive into this article that we talk about, written by our friends at Canucks Army, where it says 8 centers with upside the Canucks could look to pluck from preseason waivers. This article is written by Stefan Roget, and he goes on to say, it's getting to be late in July, and the Vancouver Canucks are still, by all reports, looking to add to their forward group. Specifically, GM Patrick Alvina and company are on the lookout for at least one additional center. Unfortunately, the stocks of potentially available centers started low and have since dwindled. There are a handful available through free agency still, but they're either not exactly difference makers or not exactly centers. See Jack Roslovic. There are some intriguing RFA centers still without contracts like Marco Rossi and Mason McTavish, 2 guys that we have spoken about on this channel. The cost of acquisition seems to be out of line with what the Canucks are ready and willing to pay. There's one thing that the Canucks do have on hand, it's a little bit of cap space. Now, we wrote last week about the potential benefits of their standing pat with that cap space, and we also did a video on that, which you guys can check out right here. Despite the general unlikelihood of that actually happening with the ongoing search for a center. But if the Canucks could accomplish both things, what if they could bring in a center with high upside but low salary, deepening their depth and keeping costs down at the same time? They could also potentially flip that asset later on in the season to try and acquire their second line center. And on that note, I just want to make it known, none of these centers are second line center candidates. These are just, bottom six centers, depth options. Just wanted to clarify that. That's no longer possible through free agency, and we're not sure it'd be possible through trade, but it might just be possible through the waiver wire. Every year, good players go through waivers because their own teams don't have space for them yet. Obviously, there was a risk of that happening to Artur Silovs, and that is why he was traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Sometimes these players get picked up. Gustav Forsling to Florida comes to mind, and sometimes they don't, like the time the Canucks got away with waiving Jacob Markstrom. As we look out at various NHL rosters heading into 2025-26, we can spot a handful of young centers that have run out of waiver exemption time, but are still not guaranteed to make the cut in training camp. Are any of these players of potential interest to the Canucks, or are they best to stick with their in-house options like Aatu Räty, Max Sasson, and Ty Mueller? First up, we have Hendrix Lapierre of the Washington Capitals, a 23-year-old 6 foot, 180 pounds, making $850,000 until 2026. In 2024-25, he played 27 games in the NHL, 8 points, no goals. His only points were assists. He played 32 games in AHL, 7 goals, 25 assists, 32 points. While the Canucks have certainly had okay luck with Lapierre's before, though he's of no relation to Maxime Lapierre, does not play anywhere near the same style. Hendrix Lapierre is a player with an apparent NHL future. Drafted at 22nd overall in 2020, he struggled to consistently break into a deep Washington forward group that has been more concerned with helping Alex Ovechkin chase the goal record than developing their internal prospects. Still, Lapierre has come to be a dominant playmaker at the AHL level, and his run of production in limited NHL minutes isn't half bad either. If the predicted happens and Lapierre is a late cut, in Washington, he'll be one of the best options to hit the waiver wire this year. Next up, we have Nikita Alexandrov of the St. Louis Blues. 24 years old, 6'1", 185 pounds. He is a RFA. In 2024-25, he did not play in the NHL, but he played 48 games in the AHL, 21 goals, 28 assists, 49 points. Alexandrov is a former second-round pick of the Blues from 2019 who has had okay success at each step along the way, but who has recently gotten lost in the shuffle of newer, shinier St. Louis prospects. He went from 28 NHL games in 2022-23 to 23 in 2023/24 to 0 last year, and with him currently unsigned, there are reasonable worries that he may take his talents back to Russia. The Russian forward establishes his reputation with his feet and is said to possess a lot of speed in his game, as well as a willingness to utilize it at both ends. He's really figured out the goal scoring and playmaking at the AHL level, and there is potential for him to display that at the next level too, as long as he gets under contract and then hits waivers. Next up, we have Oscar Back of the Dallas Stars, 25 years old, 6'4", 202 pounds, making $850,000 until 2027. Played 73 games in the NHL in 2024-25 with 4 goals, 12 assists, 16 points, and then did not play a game in the AHL in 2024-25. You always want to try to steal players from the deepest organizations, and there aren't many deeper forward groups out there than the one in Dallas. Back played his first NHL games for the Stars last season and managed to stay up for the entire season and into the playoffs, but Back didn't put up the kind of numbers that give him much staying power, and with other younger prospects always looking to break through, it's distinctly possible that Back loses his Dallas gig after just 1 year. He has never been a prolific point producer, but gets by on his size and willingness to use it to protect the puck. He's been getting better and better at distributing it from there and is said to be quite good at utilizing his teammates. He could be someone who could score more in a better situation, and at worst, seems like someone capable of holding down a bottom line career for a long time. Next up, we have Jack Finley of the Tampa Bay Lightning, 22 years old, 6'6", 220 pounds, making $775,000 until 2028. In 2024/25, he played 1 game in the NHL, did not register a point, but played 40 games in the AHL that season and had 14 goals, 14 assists, 28 points. Probably doesn't take much to figure out why Finley is intriguing. He's 6'6", he plays center, and he's right-handed. Former second-round pick was drafted for those immutable characteristics, but he's also developed well enough in the Tampa Bay organization. Since then, there's just never a lot of room to break through in Tampa, so Finley has been limited to just one game so far. Still, he's very young for a waiver-eligible player, and that should mean lots of upside left in him. He's developing a real defensive presence down the middle, and his numbers at the AHL level keep climbing. Finley has all the makings of a classic, sizable late bloomer, and could be someone worth taking a chance on. Next up, we have, and I'm probably going to butcher this guy's name, Marat Kuznetsov of the Boston Bruins, 23 years old, 5'11", 176 pounds, making $925,000 until 2027. In 2024/25, he played 75 games in the NHL, 12 points, 5 goals, 7 assists. Did not play a game in the AHL that season. A high-talent player with a relentless motor, Kuznetsov came over from Russia 3 seasons ago and has yet to play a game in the AHL. Unfortunately, that's led to him failing to really get his feet under him at the NHL level. A trade sent him from Minnesota to Boston last season, and he finished pretty well for the Bruins with 5 points in 18 games. Still, Kuznetsov is out of waiver exemption and may not be guaranteed the same spot in 2026-27. This is still a player who was drafted in the early second round and put up 20 points in the KHL at the age of 20. There's upside here, and Kuznetsov two-way commitment makes it all the more likely he'll hit it. Next up, we have, probably going to butcher this guy's name too, Xavier Bourgault from the Ottawa Senators, 22 years old, 5'11", 179 pounds, making $775,000 until 2026. In 2024-25, he did not play in a game in the NHL, but he did play 61 games in the AHL, 26 points, 12 goals, 14 assists. Upon reflection, we're not sure Bourgault belongs on this list. There's plenty to like about a former 22nd overall pick from as recently as 2021 being available for free, and Bourgault is definitely young for someone no longer waiver exempt, but that's also because he spent 3 full seasons of relatively unsuccessful AHL hockey. Bourgault was traded in a prospect swap from Edmonton to Ottawa last year and only managed 26 points in 61 AHL games for Belleville. That's just not exciting for an offensive talent unless the pro scouts see something more there. He's probably destined to top out in the minor leagues. Next up, we have Thomas Bordeleau of the New Jersey Devils, 23 years old, 5'10", 180 pounds. He is a RFA. In 24-25, he played 1 game in the NHL, did not register a point, but he did play 59 games in the AHL with 38 points, 14 goals, 24 assists. A player with a similar profile to Bourgault is Bordeleau. He was drafted early in the second round in 2020 and was said to have great offensive vision, but hasn't been able to translate that into much pro scoring. So why is he on the list? For whatever reason, Bordeleau's results at the NHL level hasn't been half bad. He scored 11 points in 27 games for the league worst Sharks in 2023-24. While he hasn't got a lot of NHL action since, that's at least something. Truthfully, we've arrived at the dregs of the list, and like Bourgault, unless the scouts see something here, Bordeleau is probably best skipped. Next up, we have Ryan Suzuki of the Carolina Hurricanes. 24 years old, 6'1", 196 pounds, $775,000 until 2026. Played 2 games in the NHL in the 24-25 season. Did not register a point, but he did play 69 games in the AHL with 59 points, 12 goals, 47 assists. We may be in the dregs, but we've saved an intriguing name for last. We do mean name. Ryan Suzuki is the younger brother of Nick Suzuki, captain and first-line center of the Montreal Canadiens. Both were drafted in the first round, with Nick going 13th overall in 2017 and Ryan following at 28th overall in 2019. Nick had a slow start to his NHL career before becoming the player he is today. Ryan, on the other hand, has had a slow start to his pro career in general, but of the two, Ryan is a couple of inches larger, and he did really seem to figure it out with the Chicago Wolves last year. raising his numbers to a career high of 59 points in 69 games, including a standout 47 assists. Will he ever become his brother? No, but the door's not quite closed on Ryan becoming a full-time NHLer. He already cleared waivers last year, but perhaps he won't this time around after a breakout campaign at the minor league level. I did see something recently. Let me actually quickly bring this up because I do believe the Hurricanes re-signed Ryan Suzuki just the other day. Just quickly Google that. Where is it? Yeah, the Hurricanes re-signed Ryan Suzuki 2 days ago for one more season. So I guess that kind of rules out Ryan Suzuki as a waiver pickup for the Canucks, unless they could still potentially waive him, but you never know. He is a possible center with upside out of this list. If I had to choose, obviously I would likely choose Ryan Suzuki because he's a more well name out of the bunch, and I just really like Ryan Suzuki as a player. But I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section down below. Which person from this list would you choose? Is there somebody not on this list that you might choose? Put that down in the comment section down below. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. If you want to find and interact with us on social media, you can find us on Facebook. Just search The Line Change to find our Facebook page. You can find us on Instagram at The Line Change. You can find us on X at Line Change Van. You can find us on TikTok at The TLC Podcast. You can also find us on Blue Sky at The Line Change. And feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. If you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcast. On Spotify, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us. It is, of course, greatly appreciated. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, let's go Canucks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.